This story is about an alien girl who fell from the stars into a world ruled by dragons. The night was calm, cold, and wide. Stars hung like quiet watchers above the valley. The village slept. Goats dreamed. Wind touched the roofs and moved on. Then the sky tore. A silver streak burned across the darkness. It was too fast for a comet, too bright for a bird, too straight for a falling stone. The streak cut a path through thin clouds and screamed without sound. The ground felt the scream first. The hills shivered. The trees bent. The goats woke and ran. The silver light slammed into the dry riverbed beyond the fields. Dust jumped like a wave. Stones rolled. The earth cracked open and made a shallow crater, round and smoking. For one heartbeat, everything was white. Then the light went down, and blue fire glowed from the broken ground. Villagers came out with lamps and shaking hands. Some prayed to old gods of rain and seed. Some hid behind walls and watched through gaps. Children climbed barrels to see better. No one stepped close. Inside the crater, something moved. A small figure rose from the center as if pulled by invisible strings. She stood on broken rock, her boots melting a little from heat. She was not tall, not weak, not afraid. Her armor looked like poured metal and glass. Thin lines of light ran under the plates, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. A clear visor hid her face, but her eyes shone through. 2 calm blue stars. She looked around as if learning this world in a single breath. The air here was heavy with dust. The night smelled of wet stone, smoke, and apples from the village storehouse. She tasted the wind and turned toward the mountain that watched over the valley. The mountain answered. A deep rumble rolled from its bones. Snow on the high ridges slid in thin sheets. Birds rose like thrown seeds. Far up the slope, a long shape uncoiled in the dark, slow and certain. The villagers stopped breathing. Mothers pulled children down from barrels. Lamps shook in hard hands. A dragon opened one ancient eye. Its pupil was a knife of gold. Its scales were the color of iron after fire. Every breath carried a little smoke, as if the creature could never stop being a furnace. It did not roar yet. It only watched. Watching was enough to make the valley feel small. The alien girl lifted a hand to her helmet. Symbols flowed across her visor. Wind speed, temperature, unknown energy fields. One line flashed red. Magic signature detected. She did not look surprised. She pressed a touchpad on her wrist. A small metal seed fell from her palm into the dust and began to glow. A soft ring of light spread from it, thin and clean. The dragon moved his head a little, curious. His eyes narrowed. The ring of light kept growing until it touched the crater's edge and held there, bright and still. The girl stood inside the ring like a candle inside glass. A voice rose in the minds of the villagers, quiet but everywhere, like snow falling on water. It was not speech. It was memory speaking. It said, "Awake." The dragon finally spoke, not with teeth, but with thought. "Star child," he said, "old as winter. Why have you come to my sky?" The girl answered aloud, and her voice was steady. "Because something in your mountain is calling the dark." The wind stopped. The lamps burned taller. The valley leaned closer. 2 strangers, one from above, one from before, faced each other in the thin blue light. No one knew if the world would end that night or begin again. Silence fell like a heavy lid. The ring of light hummed. The alien girl stood inside it. The dragon watched from the slope, tall as a tower, old as the cold stars. He spoke again, mind to mind. "Star child, leave this valley. Your shine wakes things that should sleep." She did not step back. "My shine is not the danger," she said. "The danger is already awake." Her visor showed pale symbols. Scan. Heat high, wind low, unknown field. Another line blinked. Thought pressure detected. The dragon's voice was not only sound. It had weight. It pushed. Villagers hid behind walls and carts. A boy peeped over a barrel. His mother pulled him down, but he kept watching with wide eyes. The dragon tested her with a small breath. It was not fire. It was ash that fell like slow snow. When it touched the ring, the ash turned into tiny sparks and slid away. The ring did not break. The dragon lowered his head. You draw a circle against an old king? It is not against you, she said. It is for the people behind me. He looked past her at the houses, at the lamps, at the hands that shook. His eye changed for a moment. Less storm, more sky. But pride rose again. Hard and bright, power without fear is a lie, he said. Let me see yours. The ground under her boots tilted. Not the earth, gravity. The ring held flat, but the world leaned like a ship in a wave, her knees bent. Her boots hissed. She steadied herself without moving a foot. Her suit chimed softly. New data. Mana field. Pattern unknown. She whispered one word. Learning. The dragon's wings opened. Slow and wide, runes glowed between the scales like red snowflakes. A low hum came from the mountain. As if stone had a heartbeat. He sent no flame. He sent a word. It was a word older than the village, older than the road, older than the first song. It moved across the ring like a shadow made of rules. Her shield flickered. The visor dimmed, warning, logic slip, anchor lost. Her hand touched the small beacon at her feet. Anchor, she said. The beacon answered with a deeper tone. The ring brightened. Her vision cleared. The dragon saw, and now he was curious. What is that little star? A promise, she said. A promise that I will not run. He stepped closer. Stones cracked under his claws. Heat rolled over the fields. She felt her lips go dry inside the helmet, but her voice stayed steady. Speak plain, she said. Will you guard this valley with me, or do I stand alone? The dragon's eye narrowed to a golden knife. You do not know what sleeps under my mountain, he said. You do not know its hunger. You do not know my oath. Then show me, she said. Or try to break me. Choose. For 3 long breaths, nothing moved. Then the dragon did something no one expected. He closed his eyes. His mind voice came softer, deeper, like water under ice. Very well. A test, not for your weapons, for your will. The clouds above folded in on themselves. The valley dimmed. Lamps burned blue. A circle of old runes rose from the slope and floated in the air between them, spinning slow. At its center hung a single ember, small as a seed, red as a wound. Hold this name, the dragon said. Do not let it fall. The ember drifted toward her ring, her suit did. Not know what it was, her logic. Could not catch it. Her hand moved anyway. She reached through the light and took the ember in her palm. It burned. Without heat, it weighed nothing, and everything, her beacon wailed. Alert, identity load. Core strain 12%, 18%, 25%. She clenched her jaw. She did not drop it. The dragon opened his eyes and saw her hand close steady around the name he gave. Something old in him relaxed, something proud in him smiled. Good, he said. Then you may look behind the first door. The mountain answered with a deep click. Like a lock turning in a giant heart, a seam of black opened in the cliff, shaped like a star. From the seam, a cold whisper slid across the field and through the village and into every ear. Hungry, the boy behind the barrel grabbed his mother's sleeve. Ma, he said, did the dark just speak? The alien girl lifted her head, the ember still bright in her fist. The dragon raised his wings, and the shadow inside the star-shaped door breathed again. The test was over. The real fight had not yet begun. The star-shaped door breathed again. Cold air rushed out, thin and sharp, like knives made of winter. The ring of light around the crater flickered, then steadied. The alien girl did not move. The ember name still burned in her fist. The dragon stepped between the door and the village. His wings rose like 2 walls. His scales glowed, iron after fire, old and proud. He spoke without sound. Hold the name. Do not let it forget itself. Her visor filled with warnings. Identity load, 37%, 44%, 51% unknown pressure, expanding. Beacon link, stable. From inside the door, a shadow reached out, Not a hand, not smoke, but a shape that copied. Whatever it touched rock and became rock. It touched wind and became wind. It touched light and tried to become light, but the light refused. The dragon breathed a line of fire. Across the opening, runes formed in the flames, bright red, turning and locking like gears. The shadow pulled away, then pushed again. The runes cracked like thin ice. The girl raised her free hand. A thin blade of blue grew from her wrist, straight and quiet. She drew a circle in the air, clean geometry. No fear, no flourish. Rule, she said softly. What leaves this door must carry a name. The circle clicked shut. The shadow pushed through, and this time it could not stay formless. It twisted into a narrow thing with too many elbows, like a spider half remembered from a bad dream. On its chest was a blank place where a word should live. The girl stepped forward. The ember in her fist burned brighter. The creature leaned away from it, as if the heat were not heat, but story. The dragon struck first. One wing fell like a hammer. The creature flew into the dust and slid, clawing lines that did not stay. The lines healed behind it as if the earth did not want scars from such a thing. It rose without sound. Its face had no eyes, only a smooth place that showed whatever stood before it. Now it showed the girl, now it showed the dragon, now it showed the village. Small and fragile, the girl moved. Grav boots hissed. She lifted from the ground. Her blade came down in a simple line. No art, only purpose. She cut the blank place on its chest. Nothing bled. Instead, a noise filled the valley. Like pages torn from a book, her visor flashed. Contact, nameless core. Suggestion, assign token. She looked at the ember in her hand. Her hand shook. Not from fear, from weight. If she pressed the ember into that blank, the name might bind. If she failed, the name might break. The dragon saw her thought and roared a warning. Not yet. It is hungry for titles. It will try to wear yours. The creature turned its smooth face toward her fist. The smoothness rippled. Her own face looked back at her now. Same eyes, same calm, same blue light. The copy opened a mouth that was not a mouth and spoke in her own voice. Give it to me. You are tired. I am you. In the village, lamps shook. The boy behind the barrel covered his ears, but the sound went through hands, through wood, through prayer. The girl closed her eyes for one breath. When she opened them, they were steady. I am not tired, she said. I am awake. She snapped her blade to a point. The dragon moved with her, a king beside a star. He spoke a word that bent the wind toward them. She spoke a code that bent the light toward them. Wind and light braided into a single path. They drove forward together. The creature leaped, thin and fast. It split into 3 copies in the air, each wearing her face, each whispering her doubts. Too slow, too weak, too late. Her answer was a clear tone from the beacon. The ring widened and rose like a shield wall. Ta-3. Copies hit it and smeared like wet ink. The real one slipped under. The dragon's claw came down, missed by a breath. Her blade struck, met a silent, hard edge. The creature had learned a new trick. It held a shape the way a liar holds a smile. Identity load, 63%. 71%. The ember name grew heavier, pulling at her bones, pulling at her mind. Her heartbeat matched its pulse. She looked at the dragon. He nodded once. Trust the weight. She opened her fist a little. The ember shone between her fingers, red and steady. The creature flinched. You can copy faces, she said, but not courage. She drove the ember forward, not into the creature, but into the circle she had drawn. The circle drank the light and began to speak. A quiet chant of math and meaning. The creature screamed without sound and tried to erase the circle. Where it touched, the chant grew louder. The door pulsed. The mountain answered with a deep, rolling groan. Snow slid again on the high ridges. The Dragon lifted his head and called the storm. Clouds, bent lightning came down like a straight. Thought now, he said. The girl cut one more. Line. Simple. Final. The creature staggered. Faint glyph appeared on its blank chest. A hole shaped like a letter trying to be, on her visor flashed. Target reveals true place. Action. Fill. She reached for the last tool she could spare. A small memory tag from her collar, Mercy, and pressed it toward the glyph. The creature recoiled. Shaking like a bell, the tag glowed. Halfway in, halfway out, the dragon roared. Force it! The ground cracked, the ring dimmed, the ember in her hand flickered, and the star-shaped door yawned wider, as if something bigger pressed from behind. Wind ripped through the valley. Lamps went dark. The girl pushed. The tag slid one more inch. The creature bent like glass about to break. And from inside the door, a second voice rose, colder than the first. 2 hunters, it whispered. 2 names to eat. The girl did not look back. She kept pushing, eyes bright, blade steady, heart set. The mountain held its breath. The second voice crawled out of the star-shaped door. It was thin and cold and sure of itself. 2 hunters. 2 names to eat. The ring of light shook. The beacon's tone dropped half a note, like a heart that missed a beat. The ember name in the alien girl's hand grew heavy as iron. The mercy tag pressed halfway into the creature's chest and stuck there. Bright and trembling, the dragon stepped forward until his shadow covered the girl. His scales hissed. Old runes woke along his throat. "Stand tight, Star Child," he said. This voice, I remember it. He opened his mind wider. Images flashed into the valley. A younger world. A sky full of fire, kings and queens turning to ash, and one dragon swearing an oath over a broken crown. I faced it once. His thought rolled like thunder. I survived. My kin did not. The door pulsed again. Stone around it cracked into fine lines like dry riverbeds. A thin, black wind slipped across the ground and tasted everything. Dust, fear, hope. Where it passed, words on carved stones faded a little, as if someone rubbed them with a cold thumb. The girl's visor flooded with simple truths that wanted to turn into lies. Warning, concept drift, anchor, beacon, ember mercy, she breathed slow. Stay with me, she said, not to the dragon, but to herself. Then louder, to the shadow with her face. You cannot carry mercy. You do not know its weight. The creature rattled like empty armor. The mercy tag sank another breath. Cracks ran through its smooth chest, not breaking it, but making a shape where a word could live. The second voice laughed. No sound, all cold. Little rider, it said to the girl. Little king, it said to the dragon. You make rules. I make hunger. All rules end inside me. Not today, the dragon answered, and bent his head to the ground. With a claw, he drew a circle of fire on the stone, slow, careful, respectful. Each stroke was a memory, battles, oaths, graves. He kept the circle open at the top. Why open? The girl asked. Because a name must breathe, he said, or it dies. She nodded. She turned her blade and traced straight lines in the air above his fire, lines that did not care about myth, only about truth that could be tested. Code met, rune, light met, flame. The open circle filled with a soft blue net that hummed like a distant choir. The door did, not like the hum. The second voice pressed. Harder. The ring dimmed to a pale coin. The boy behind the barrel hugged his. Mother's arm so tight her hand went numb. Link, the girl said. The beacon answered. Brave but thin. Link, stable. Power low, 9%. The dragon turned one golden eye on the village. If we fail, run east, he told them. Mind to many minds. Do not look back. Do not speak your names out loud. No one moved. No, one ran. A farmer with shaking knees picked up a shovel and held it like a spear. The boy's mother pulled him, behind her, and set her feet. The creature with the girl's face smiled. Empty and slow, they taste like small stories. It whispered. Then starve, the girl said, and pushed. The mercy tag slid deeper. The cracks on the creature's chest turned into a socket, a place where meaning could sit and lock. It clawed at its own wound with hands that left no marks. The second voice rose, angry now. You think mercy binds me? Mercy weakens kings, the dragon laughed. A dry, sharp sound, only cowards think so. He lifted his head and spoke a word that made clouds kneel. The circle of fire flared high. The girl turned her blade, flat, and wrote a single rule along its edge. Rule: if you wear mercy, you must carry what you take. She struck. The tag clicked into place. The creature folded as if someone hung a mountain on its shoulders. Its limbs shook. A low note rolled through the valley. Not pain, weight. The blank on its chest was no longer blank. It held a small, living mercy that would not let it eat without paying. The second voice quieted, then split into many thin whispers, testing new angles, new lies. The star-shaped door widened one finger more. From its edge, something else slipped out. Not a hand, not a copy, a thread. It glided through the air, black and shining, and looped itself around the dragon's foreleg like a ribbon. The dragon snarled and pulled. The thread did not break. Where it touched, a tiny patch of scale lost color and memory, a scar without a story. It cuts names, he said, almost calm. Neat work. Old enemy. The girl grabbed the thread with her free hand. It slid through her glove like cold oil. Her visor flashed. Material, not. Function, yes. Response, add law. She planted her boot, dug the point of her blade into the ground, and carved fast. Simple letters into the dust. Rule, a cut that takes must also give. The thread twitched, as if surprised, then bit deeper into the dragon's leg, and gave back a thin flicker of light, a memory not its own. A field under two moons, a child laughing, a promise kept. It tasted wrong and right at the same time. The dragon breathed out in relief and rage. Good law, he said. Make more. The door shuddered. The second voice turned colder, smaller, nearer. 2 hunters, 2 laws, 2 lights to put out. The girl looked at her palm. The ember name burned steady, but the numbers on her visor dropped. Identity load, 82%. 88%, core 11%. Shield, 15%. She knew what the weight wanted now. The ember was a key. Keys open. Keys lock, but keys also break if turned too hard. She lifted it anyway. Dragon, she said, Star Child, if I fail, take the beacon and write without me. He turned his head. Not king now, only old friend. If you fall, I carry your light in my heart runes. That is an oath. She smiled once, quick and human. Then she did the hardest, simplest thing. She stepped closer to the door. The cold hit her teeth. Words on her visor blurred, then straightened, then blurred again. Rule. What crosses this line must tell its true name, she said, and drew a new circle right on the door's lip. Her blade shook. The line shook. Still, it closed. The second voice slid against the fresh edge like a knife on bone. It did not cut. It waited. From behind the circle, something leaned in. The girl felt its interest like frost on her bones. It did not reach for her armor or her blade. It reached for her story. It found fire, silence, a long fall, a promise, and a valley full of small, brave lives. It tasted all of that and said one word into her mind, not threat, not pride. Why? She almost answered. Then she remembered the dragon's first lesson. Some names must breathe, but some truths must stay inside. She closed her mouth and squeezed the ember until the light painted her glove red. The creature with her face took a step, bowed under Mercy's weight, and tried to strike again. The dragon stepped over the girl, took the blow on his chest, and burned a path open with a roar that made the peaks ring. Now, she said through her teeth. She lifted the ember to the door circle. The valley leaned forward, like a listener who knows the next sentence will change a life. The ember touched the circle on the door. Light ran around the edge like sunrise in a mirror. The star-shaped seam unlocked, one point at a time, slow and careful, as if the mountain did not want to open, but had to obey an old rule. Cold rushed out. The ring of light around the crater fell to its knees, then crawled back up, shaking. The beacon's tone turned thin. Power, 7%. Link, fragile. The dragon bent low so the girl could step onto his foreleg. He raised her to the door. "I go first," he said. She shook her head. "If you fall, the village falls, I write." "You hold." He hated that answer. He accepted it. She stepped through. Inside the door was not a cave. It was a hall made of no, a place where the world had been told to stop, and it listened. The floor looked like water that forgot to move. The walls were shadows that wanted to be words and could not. The girl's boots left no sound. Her breath did, small and human. It echoed like a bell in snow. The dragon followed, folding his wings tight. His scales made a low song, metal on old fire. Behind them, the ring of light held the doorway like a brave, tired guard. The second voice spoke from everywhere and nowhere. "Names are heavy here. Walk soft." The creature with the girl's face tried to enter. 2. Mercy pulled it back like a chain. It hissed, stumbled, and stayed on the threshold, shaking under its new weight. The hall bent and became a long bridge over a black lake. In the lake, things rose and sank, half-words, broken oaths, promises that died before they were kept. Each one pulled at the heart. Each one whispered, "Let me be your end, and you can rest." The girl looked straight ahead. The dragon did. 2, they did not answer the lake. At the far end stood a thin, tall figure. No face, no hands. Only a hole where a name should be, shaped like a letter that never finished being written. The second voice was inside that empty place. "Little writer, old king, you have laws. I have hunger. Hunger is patient." The girl lifted the ember. Its light shook but did not dim. "Rule," she said, voice steady. "Hunger may wait, but it must show its true mouth." The hole rippled. For a breath, she saw it, the place where everything went in and nothing came out. A mouth that chewed history, throat that swallowed crowns and prayers, and the sound of a child's name. The dragon stepped. Forward, fire runes opened, along his chest like flowers of red glass. "Know that mouth," he said. "It took my brothers. I make it choke." He spoke a word that bent the bridge toward him. The lake tried to pull away. The bridge did not allow it. "Link," the girl said. The beacon answered from far behind them, a thin thread that found her hand. "Link. Live." She drew a circle in the air, then another inside it, then 4 straight lines that crossed like a star. Simple shapes, simple truth, rule, she wrote along the edges. What eats a name must carry a name. What carries a name can be called. The empty figure laughed with a sound like glass breaking under snow. "Call me then." The girl held up the ember. "Not yours," she said. "Mine." She pressed the ember to her own visor. Light ran across the glass and sank into her suit, into her skin, into her bones. Her HUD exploded with warnings. Identity load. 91%. 95%. 98% core. 5%. Shield 9%, the dragon roared. "Star Child!" She did not stop. "Names can break under weight," she whispered. "But they can also anchor." Her eyes turned brighter, deeper. Like small oceans with storms far inside, the circle and star lit up. The empty figure twitched. Like a spider in a web it did not see until too late. The girl spoke her name, the one she kept hidden since the fall, the one she did not put in any file, the one that tasted like home and loss and a promise. She spoke it once. The hall heard it. The web tightened. The empty figure lunged. The dragon met it with both foreclaws and a horn, burning words into the air. Stand, kneel, bind. It struck like a quiet lightning bolt. The figure fell back, thin arms tearing, the hole on its chest flaring like a wound that refused to close. The lake rose in rage. Waves of black climbed the bridge. Shadows tried to pull at the girl's feet, to erase her ankles, her knees. The idea of walking. She cut the shadows with simple lines. Each cut was a no that held. Each no was backed by a yes. Yes to the village, yes to the mountain, yes to the dragon watching her back. The second voice thinned. It stopped sounding like a god and started sounding like a trick. You cannot keep names forever, it hissed. Time will help me. Then time can help me, too, she said. She slid the last tag from her collar, memory, and pressed it into the star she had drawn. The web flared white. The hall shook. The bridge groaned but held. The figure shrank, folding into a small, tight knot of dark that jumped from place to place inside the web like a fly that would not accept the net. The dragon bent his head to the circle's edge. Say when, he told her. Not yet, she said. It must carry more. She reached for the last tag, mission, and closed her fist around it. Her visor dimmed. Core. 3%. Her knees shook. From the village, a small sound crossed the link, the boy behind the barrel whispering, Don't fall. It was nothing. It was everything. She pushed mission. Into the star. The knot of dark screamed without. Sound and stopped jumping. It sagged. Weight with no legs. The dragon stamped once. The bridge. Barked like iron. Now, he said. She nodded. Together they spoke. One voice of fire and crown. One voice of light and law. Bind. The star closed like a hand. The knot compressed to the size of a seed, black with a single tiny star inside, pulsing slow. Silence fell. The lake went flat. The hall forgot to be cold. The girl swayed, her lights faded to a soft dusk. Core. 2%. Shield. 4%. The dragon caught her with one claw and held her against the warm armor of his chest. Breathe, he said, gentle as snow. Only breathe. She did. Behind them, the doorway trembled. A hairline crack traced across the circle on the lip, not breaking yet, but reminding them that patience works both ways. The second voice returned. Small but sharp like a needle, you bound a seed. You did not end the field. The girl looked at the tiny star trapped in the dark and smiled. Tired and fierce. Then we will burn the field, she said. One seed at a time. She slid the seed onto her blade. It clung there like frost. Quiet and angry, they turned toward the door. Outside, the first edge of sunrise touched the mountain. Light rolled down the ridges like gold water. The dragon lifted his head, eyes bright and old. At sunrise, he said. At sunrise, she answered. They stepped back through the door and the valley, waiting with held breath and shaking hands. Saw two hunters return with night caught on a sword. Dawn touched the mountain. Gold light slid down the rock like warm water. The valley woke, but the danger woke too. The seed on the girl's blade pulsed, slow and dark. Each pulse sent a tiny ripple across the ground. Cracks answered from the star-shaped door. New hairlines, new whispers. The dragon listened with his old ears. It is calling to others, he said. Small roots, same hunger. The girl checked her visor. Core. 2%. Shield. 4%. Too low for a long fight. She looked at the village. She looked at the sky. Then we hunt fast, she said. And we hunt smart. She stepped into the ring of light. Link, she said. The beacon woke with a brave sound. Power. 6%. Sun charge. Link. Stable. Sunlight filled the valley. The seed hissed. Soft as steam. It did not like day. The dragon spread his wings wide. Scales threw rainbows on the dust. "Name your plan," he said. "3 moves," she answered. "Find, fix, finish," she pointed at the cracks. "Find. We map every whisper." Her visor cast a grid over the ground. Simple and clear. Blue dots blinked where the whispers were strongest. "Fix. We stitch the ground with law lines." She drew straight paths between the dots with her blade. Thin, threads of light that sank into the earth like nerves. "Finish. We drive them to one place, then close the net." The dragon's eye brightened. "Hunter's work," he said, pleased. Villagers crept out. Fear still lived in their hands, but courage walked beside it. The boy from the barrel carried a bell. A farmer held a shovel. A woman brought a basket of flat stones with old words scratched on them. Home. Bread, water, child. The girl saw the stones and nodded. Good. Names help. They placed the stones along the glowing threads. Each stone warmed a little. Like bread in the sun, each one made the thread stronger. The ground fought back. Black veins pushed up from below. Thin and quick. They tried to climb the threads and bite the words off the stones. The dragon stepped between the veins and the people. He breathed low fire, not to burn, but to brand. He drew tiny rune marks on each stone, as light as a kiss. "Live, keep, hold," the runes said. The veins shrank from the warm marks. The girl moved like a quiet storm, fast and exact. She set small light tags at crossroads. She checked the seed's pulse. She watched the grid fill in. Her visor chimed. Map complete. 27 anomalies. They formed a ring around the star door, thin as a crown. She frowned. It wants to circle the door. It wants a throne. "Not today," the dragon said. They walked the ring together, he in the sky, she on the threads, where a black mouth opened. He stamped it with fire. Where a mouth slipped past, she cut it with a line and added a rule. Rule: a stolen path returns to its first owner. The mouth spat up a word it had swallowed. Well, it rolled back to the village well and clicked into place like a missing tooth. The water's taste turned sweet again. People laughed. Surprised and crying at once, more mouths rose. More rules answered. Rule: if you bite bread, you pay hunger back with work. The windmill started to turn, though no wind blew. Rule: if you steal a child's name, you must carry their fear. A small shadow near a doorway shook, then melted like frost, leaving a child who blinked and remembered his own name. The seed screamed, a high, soft sound only the brave could hear. It pulled on the blade, wanting to jump free. The girl kept her hand strong. Core, 3%. Shield, 6%. Sunlight fed her a little. The beacon hummed, steady and low. At the last of the 27 points, the ground erupted. A taller mouth rose, thin and sharp, ringed with tiny letters stolen from graves and gates. It reached for the dragon's throat. He met it head-on, horn into shadow, rune into hunger. They locked. Now! The girl shouted. She slammed the last tag, mission, onto the final thread. The whole grid lit up, valley-wide. Lines met lines, circles. Woke inside circles. A net of day fell through the earth. The mouths tried to run. The net held. They slid toward the center, the star-shaped door, like fish pulled by tide. The dragon threw the tall mouth down and pinned it with both claws. He looked at the girl. "Close it," he said. "Close all of it." She lifted the blade. The seed on its edge burned night black with the tiny star trapped within. Her visor flashed once. Core, 4%, enough for one more law. She wrote slow, careful, each stroke a breath. Final rule: a name that breaks names must live inside the name it fears. She pointed the blade at the star door. The net pulled. All the small mouths dragged in. The tall one screamed and snapped, but the dragon held. A mountain with a heartbeat. The door glowed. The circle she had drawn on its lip brightened. The seed shook like a storm trapped in a bottle. Together, she said. The dragon lowered, his head beside her. Two voices. One law: bind, breathe, sleep. The seed leapt from the blade and struck the door. Light and dark hit and folded. The star shape closed. 1 point. 2, 3, 5 points shut like a hand. Silence. Dust settling. Birds daring to sing. Again, the girl swayed. Core 1% at her. Lights dimmed to a faint glow. The dragon kept her from falling. He turned to the village. Voice warm and worn. It holds for now, the boy rang. His bell until his arms hurt. People. Hugged. Someone sobbed into a shovel. The girl looked at the door and did not smile. A hairline crack still lived there, thin as a hair. Stubborn as a bad memory. It holds, she said, but it listens. The field is bigger than this mountain? The dragon followed her gaze to the east. Beyond hills. Beyond river, beyond dawn. Then the hunt grows, he said. She sheathed the blade. The tiny star inside the night-black metal beat once. Slow and patient, she said, voice quiet but sure. We take the hunt to the field. Sun warmed the valley, but the mountain kept a cool shadow on the ground. The star-shaped door was quiet. The thin crack still lived on its lip, small and stubborn, like a splinter under skin. The alien girl stood, weak but steady. Her armor glowed like dusk instead of dawn. The dragon lowered his head beside her, one golden eye watching the sky, the other watching the people. Villagers brought water, bread, and blankets. A woman pressed a warm cup into the girl's hands. Rest, she said. The girl drank. The heat ran through her like courage. Thank you, she answered, simple and soft. The dragon raised his voice for all to hear. Mind to many minds. Today you stood and did not run. You kept your names. That matters. The boy with the bell walked forward, still shaking, still brave. Will it come back? He asked. The dragon looked at the door. It will try. He opened his wings, then folded them again. But now it will find hunters waiting. The girl checked her visor. Core, 1%. Shield, 2%, not much. But the sun gave a little more each minute, like a slow gift. She slid the night-black blade half out of its sheath. The tiny star trapped in it pulsed once, patient and proud. She listened to that beat and felt her fear stand straighter. Over the far hills, a low hum rolled through the morning, faint at first, then clear. It was not wind, not river, not birds. The dragon's ears lifted. Do you hear that? The girl nodded. Signal, she said. A call. Her visor caught the rhythm and translated it into light dots in the air. The dots formed a map, rough, simple enough. Across the land, small points blinked, wells gone sour, bridges that forgot their names, graveyards where letters grew thin. The field, she said. It is bigger than this mountain. And older, the dragon added. She looked east. We go. The villagers stirred. A farmer stepped up. We come with you. The girl shook her head. Guard this door. Feed the stones. Speak your names to the sun every morning. Do not speak them to the dark. If a shadow whispers, answer with work. Bake bread. Fix a roof. Sing a child's song. They nodded. These were tasks a village could do. The dragon bent to the boy. Ring the bell at noon and sunset, he told him. Not to scare the thing, but to keep your own courage loud. The boy lifted the bell and smiled. Little. I can do that, he said. The girl touched. The beacon at her feet. Link, she said. The beacon. Woke. Power. 12%. Sun charge. Link. Wide net mode. Lines spread from the valley like threads on a loom. Some lines touched other beacons, sleeping and waking across the land. Some lines reached nothing yet. But they waited. She clipped the beacon to her belt. Portable, loyal, still brave. The dragon looked at her blade, the seed inside. Can you carry it far? Yes, she said. But it will learn. It listens. It watches how we write. Then write better tomorrow than today, he said. She smiled. Small and tired. That is the plan. They set out, one on foot, one in the sky. The villagers watched them go until distance turned them to two bright specks, then to stories. They did not go far at first. The first point on the map was a broken bridge over a lazy river. Letters carved into the old stones had gone pale. The water forgot where to pass and pooled in a wide, sad bowl. The girl walked the bank and touched the stones with simple patience. She wrote 3 small laws with her blade, each stroke slow and clear. Rule: a bridge remembers both sides. Rule: a river flows toward a larger name. Rule: a path that helps others become stronger. The dragon burned 3 runes into the arch. Small crowns. Not for pride, for duty, hold, welcome, keep. Water gathered itself and moved on. Happy as water can be. Fish turned in the new current like bright commas. A shepherd waiting nearby wiped his eyes and covered the smile with his sleeve. They moved again. At a crossroads altar, they found a black mouth trying to eat the word home. The girl pressed her palm on the slate and gave a little of her light. The dragon leaned close and gave a little of his fire. Home shone. The mouth shrank. They did not kill it. They starved it. At a school with no roof, chalk letters had started to fade from the walls. Children tried to copy the shapes and could not remember them. The girl knelt and traced A and B and C with her blade, not in stone but in air, so small fingers could copy light by habit. The dragon set a warm shade over the yard with one wing, so eyes could see without glare. Laughter returned. So did the sound of mistake and retry and again. Please, which is the sound of learning. They made a simple pattern. Find the hurt. Name the hurt. Write the rule. Share the weight. Move on. With each fix, the seed on the blade hissed. It tried to twist the rules to make shortcuts, to teach easy lies. The girl refused every shortcut. The dragon refused every lie. By noon, the map's blinking points grew dimmer near the valley and brighter far away. The field had seen them. It was shifting. At a high ridge, they stopped to drink and look. The plain stretched out like a wide table. Far off, a dark stripe cut across the grass. Long, thin, and straight as a blade. The dragon narrowed his eyes. Road? He guessed. The girl did not answer. She zoomed her visor. The stripe was not a road. It was a line of erased names, milestones, mile markers, shrine stones, cleaned of words, polished by nothing, pointing toward a city on the far horizon. Her visor picked up the city's edge. Walls, towers, markets. And in the heart of it, under the biggest square, a new door was forming, wide, perfect, and hungry. Not a field, she said. A farm. Someone is growing the void. The dragon's breath came out like a small storm. Who? She ran the signal again. Rhythm, dots, map. A bright point flashed behind them back toward the valley they had just saved. She turned fast. No alarm, no scream. No smoke, just the bell, ringing steady and brave at noon, the boy keeping his promise. She let the sound settle her chest. Whoever it is, she said, they are patient. They are proud. And they are not far. The dragon stretched his neck and rolled his shoulders. Old scars shifted. New strength woke. Then we go to the city. The girl stood. Her blade hummed. The seed pulsed, angry and quiet. Not as defenders, she said. As hunters. They started down the ridge, sun on their backs, wind in their faces. Behind them, the mountain watched like a father who had finally taught his child the first true lesson. Ahead, the city waited, bright with trade, loud with life, and thin with places where meaning had grown weak. The dragon smiled a hard, happy smile. Today we write louder than hunger, he said. The girl nodded. And simpler than lies. Above them, 3 small points of light winked in daytime sky. faint ships far out in orbit, listening. They turned their dishes toward the plain. The first message the ships received was not numbers, not code. It was a bell from a valley, rung by a boy at noon. It carried across sky and metal like a heartbeat. The ships listened. The city waited. The hunters walked. And somewhere past the horizon, a new voice felt them coming and said, without fear and without joy, at last. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and share the video. For more stories like this, subscribe to the channel, HFY Legends. Thank you for watching, and stay ready for the next legend to rise.